Good evening, one and all. Welcome back to the Boys on the Bus. And it is, of course, Friday night. And it is 9 o'clock. And as always, you know what that means. It must be time for that Friday feeling here. And as you can see, the usual the dynamic dudes, I believe we get called in chat by I get Smell the Glove that calls it. But yes, we're here. Liam, Canada favourite Tim, the wise man of the bus. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Not bad at all. Just Friday afternoon, change of scenery. Today, working at the office. Lovely brick wall, innit?
Aye, new different backdrop again. But no, you were in it a few weeks ago, to be fair. You did your show from the studio as well. But no, it's good to have you back on again, Liam, as always. So yeah, we've got a busy show tonight, folks. We will be looking ahead to the Falkirk game. Well, feels like we play them every week now. But yes, we've got another fixture with Falkirk this weekend on Sunday, 3 o'clock at Celtic Park. Could be a crucial weekend. Obviously, we'll take a look at the landscape of the Scottish Premiership, of the title rivals as well. We've got some away games this weekend. Will they drop points? Will we do our job? That's first and foremost. So we'll be talking about that. We will talk about last night's Europa League game. Obviously, Terry came on and did a solo post-match last night, so we'll give our thoughts on it. I was there at the game last night. Liam obviously watched it as well. So yeah, we'll chip in our thoughts there. 4-2 victory over Utrecht. And that has led us to the playoff round of the Europa League, where we will now play a familiar foe from years gone by, VFB Stuttgart. So here we are in the second tier competition in Europe. We're playing Stuttgart. We could potentially, and I say potentially because we ain't won anything yet, could play Porto in the next round. Stuttgart, Porto, Europa League, Martin O'Neill in the dugout. What's going on? Have we got a time machine here? Have we gone back to 2003? So anyway, we'll discuss all the connotations around that and maybe some transfer talk. Maybe it seems like things are moving at a snail's pace as usual, but we're getting there. We're creeping up to the line. Apparently, something is a brewing regarding a right wing forward. So we'll be talking about that and a few other wee transfer rumours doing the rounds. But yes, first and foremost, then before we go any further, do all that good stuff, folks. Help us out massively on the channel. Hit the old like button. Helps out with the old algorithms and the world of Celtic YouTube. Get us recommended to more people out there that enjoy such content. Speaking of which, if you do enjoy our content, you've only just discovered us, and keep us in your life that wee bit longer. Enjoying the 1,590 something. I think we're almost at 1,600 subscribers that have done so already. Hit subscribe, bell notification to be reminded when we are on the road. Also, you can get involved in our comment section tonight. Let's see who is in already. Who's taken the seat? Liam, let's have a look. So Graham Tyrrell is here. Jim C is here. Sligo Boy is in. Joe Henry is in. Jim Dolan. Gav Boy's here. Pato is in as well. Smell the Glove is also here. Teresa Lyle has dropped in too. Who else is just scrolling up, see any names I've not shouted yet. I've got Switchblade is in, Celtic Girl Jota, Ronald Lang are all in. So yes, hello everybody, take your seat and enjoy the ride. And what else can you do? You can become, if you wish, you become a Boys in the Bus member for $1.99 a month and get a little virtual Celtic scarf next to your name on YouTube and other such perks. There's a few extra emojis, a few highlighted comments and whatnot. All of our content will never ever be behind a paywall. Never be locked away on Patreon. It will always be free here on YouTube. But it's just to keep the old diesel in the tank and keep things ticking over. And also, if you want to catch up via audio downloads at a later date, then all of our audio archive is on our SoundCloud website. Yeah, we don't do Spotify. It's too complicated for me to set up. It goes over my head, that one. But anyway, we're on SoundCloud and the link is in the description below. And a wee bit of trivia. We've got trivia, Liam, to start the show. Do you want a trivia question? We'll come back to the answer later. So, yeah, I've brought this back, obviously, in the last few weeks. So, tonight's trivia question, it is only two answers to it, but a very short and simple question. There's only two Celtic players who've scored a hat-trick against Falkirk this century. Can you name them? So, it's obviously from the year 2000 to the present day, only two Celtic players have bagged a hat-trick against Falkirk, our opponents, on Sunday. Hopefully another Celtic player can bag a hat-trick on Sunday. That would be nice. But yeah, the answers may shock you, but we will come back to the two answers at the end of the show.
I think I know one of them.
Okay, well, we'll come back to it. So keep that one banked in the memory just now, Liam, and we'll come back to it later on. But yeah, let's get chatting then about what's going on at Celtic. So last night, Europa League, a win over Utrecht. Our league campaign came to an end. Our 8 games are done. finished on 11 points, 21st place in the table. Funny enough, we actually finished with 11 points last season in the Champions League, wasn't it? And 21st place again in that. And here we are into the playoff round. And first and foremost, what did you make the performance against Utrecht? My personal opinion from the stadium was pretty good first 20 minutes, and then it sort of just went a bit flat, a bit nervy, a bit unnecessarily nervy, because Utrecht weren't up to much. They obviously didn't have anything to play for. I know there's a whole danger about teams that have nothing to play for. Always a bit of worry about them. But yeah, we came out the traps flying. A few early goals. Remember early in the season, Liam, where we couldn't even score a goal in the first 20 minutes? 3-0 up inside 20 minutes. Obviously, Benji Nygren popping up again with a goal. One of the most polarising players, I think, in recent Celtic history, but he scored again. Obviously, an own goal, but obviously, massive assist there for Vasilius Barkas. We'll get talking about him in a few minutes as well. And a penalty for a quite mental VAR decision that just kind of came out of nowhere. No Celtic players protested it at the time. And they just, obviously the referee let play go on for quite a while. Then eventually was like, wait, stop, VAR review. And you kind of knew at that point, it must be a penalty. If you said to stop the play so abruptly, it's got to be a penalty. And 3-0 up. And at that point, I'm thinking, this could be whatever we want it to be, because the situation last night, we're kind of used to, Liam, that Celtic make it very nervy. When you're 3-0 up, you're like, we could 5 or 6 here, no problem. And typically Celtic did then make it a little bit nervy, but in the end, Austin Trusty did pop up to put it beyond doubt. And onward to the next round we go. So, what was your thoughts on the game overall, Liam?
Well, I thought it was interesting. The first goal, I really had to double check and goes, wait a minute, what was Tierney doing it on that side of the thing? Did he switch spots? But I guess he was taking the corner, and they did a short corner. But we're putting him to take the corners, I guess, on the right, and still, I think Ingles on the left. Mm-hmm. But it was great to see him pop up. I thought Tierney had a smashing game last night. I thought if I'm looking for pass marks and some of the guys, he didn't let up. I thought he played really, really well. And it's great that we're getting a tune out of him. And, God bless the injuries only piling up. When I seen him limp off, that last game, I was like, oh no, don't tell me he's out there as well. Because you always worry the worst for him when you see him grabbing that hamstring and that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, overall, I think it was a game that, you couldn't say we deserved any of the goals, really. And, in a way, other than maybe the Trusty one. The Barkas, I think, was terrible. His distribution, I don't know if it's the nerves or just like, you can't play at, Celtic Park. But, it was good to see him back to himself, helping out the cause. And Nygren does what Nygren does. Pops up in the box and just manages to get there, right time, right place, stabbed it in for 3 feet out. Right. And the penalty, as you said, yes, it's a lot of ones that we get given against us all the time. It's one of the ones that leaves you just like grabbing your head. No, it's like, sometimes you get these referees in Europe, they've got absolutely no filter, no discerning attitude. They're just so by the rule book and all that. They don't look at it, in a way that's any sort of fairness at all. And that one just didn't seem fair on them. But hey, I was glad to see us 3-0 up, because somewhere in the back of my head I'm thinking, Chris, we need this cushion. And it's, as soon as I started thinking that, then you seen some of the negative stuff coming back in. The ball was going backwards more times than it was forward. And there was loads of guys in their team doing that. Ingles, I don't know. Ingles and Nygren in the midfield. So I said Nygren's great in the box, but outside of the box, he offers absolutely nothing. He doesn't tackle. He's no got pace. And Ingles, for the guy that's the most technical player in the team, the amount of time he put the ball out the park or lost control of it, there just seemed a lot of that going on last night. And it showed you how fragile this team is, that even with a 3-0 lead, you couldn't relax. I couldn't relax, enjoy that game the way I've seen other 3-0 games that we've had, where we go ahead quick and you just sort of settle in. It's like, right, just going to enjoy the football now, and maybe they'll do some stuff. But no, they regressed to anti-football, and it was just negative tactics, and so I don't know who do you blame for that? I mean, you don't know really. You won, but you might see Callum McGregor get a hold of that midfield at some point and give some of these guys a shake, and let them know the game's not won. Guys strolling about
It
there.
certainly felt that when it got to 3-2. You're like, oh God, this isn't
Oh,
one. This isn't at all. I wonder if there was an element, though, of, 3-0 up. We're obviously the walking wounded these days with our team, and it's a case of, right, game's done, can slow down a wee bit here because we don't want to get any more injuries on our plate. But yeah, see, we kind of just let them in the back door. Obviously, they scored right before half time, and they could have got a second one as well before half time. And Schmeichel actually did pull a good save for that one. Obviously, he was left very much wanting for the second goal. But one of the speaking of goalkeepers, let's just go back to Barkas and just talk about his night, because Lauren has actually made a point here. One thing we seem to be good at is reacting to goalkeeper errors. It is the third time in this Europa League campaign, Liam, that we have capitalised on a goalkeeper howler, because it happened against Feyenoord out in Rotterdam. It happened last week against Bologna. And it happened obviously last night as well with Benjamin Nigren. This time it was Hatate that, Maeda closed down for the goal in Rotterdam. Hatate scored the goal. And then last week, again, it was Maeda that set up Hatate for the tap-in Bologna. And then last night, it was Nigren that capitalised to set up Maeda, although say it ends up taking a deflection on the way in. So that's quite remarkable that, we've had 3 out of 3 in terms of goalkeepers gifting it to us. And also another remarkable stat as well is we seem to actually score a few off of corners in Europe compared to domestically, where it seems to be a real rarity. But last night, obviously, Trusty's goal, direct from the corner. The first goal came from a short corner, a set piece move. Earlier in the campaign, last week against Bologna, Kieran Tierney takes a corner and Arnie Engels gets a glancing header to Trusty at the back post, goal. Sturm Graz earlier in the tournament as well. We scored 2 goals that night. First one, Scales, it came from a short corner, passed it into the box and Scales side-footed it in. And then the second goal was Engels' corner right onto Benjamin Nigren's head. So it's like, in Europe, we're doing these things where we're capitalising on goalie mistakes and we're actually scoring from set pieces. Like, why can we not do that in the domestic side of things, Liam?
aye. Just to go back to something I said last week when talking about set pieces, we're still doing this thing where, so if you look at the contrast last night, where I thought we were vulnerable was they were getting free kicks. So European games, you tend to pick up a lot of free kicks in the middle of the park. We've got this habit, and it's Callum McGregor. He puts the ball down, and he can't wait to just. It's like it's a ticking time bomb, and he has to get rid of it as fast as he can. I'm watching in contrast their team. They're stopping it. They're lining up. They're basically lining up along the 18-yard line, and putting us under pressure and danger. And you know what our lines like at the back post and that. And they were firing the balls in so that we had to do stuff. And the ball was going out of the place. There was no, we weren't getting it to, we were heading it out at times, but there was times where it was getting through. We don't take that chance. And I think that's what we need to get better at. We need to, especially when we're playing in Scotland, it seems to be a leftover thing from when Ange was there, where it's get the ball back into play as fast as possible. And as much as I like Ange's style and all that, that worked for his style when everything was robust and dynamic and like chaos football that we used to have there. But when we're playing now and we're looking to score chances and create chances and that, we're missing a trick there. So I'd like to see Callum McGregor just stand in the ball, let the players get up. With no benefit in anything. Usually what ends up happening is that pass goes 3 or 4 yards and it doesn't matter like who's marking them and that, and we get ourselves in trouble. And as you've seen lately, we've got a hard time retaining the ball. Ingles and Negan are power puff in the middle. Same with Taneki. Everybody was guilty of giving the ball away. And Diaz and Maeda, I don't know what happened to Dizan. I mean,
Oh,
I had so much hope for him at the beginning of the season. I thought he was going to come in thinking, World Cup year, maybe a move on the table and that. But he was going to light it up, and he's nose burnt out. He looks like he's burnt. He's beyond all recognition. I don't see the same guy there. Maybe it's the hair. Maybe we need to get the baldy, Dizan back.
Terry said it on a post-match earlier in the season when we were talking about Maeda, saying was last season actually the outlier, where we had 2 or 3 seasons of kind of up and down for him, where you get a few moments of brilliance, but then it was like so inconsistent. But then last season, he was like a man possessed. So we thought, okay, is he going to kick on from this? But early on in the season, I think Terry pondered that on a post-match we were doing, saying, it's starting to look like last season was actually the outlier here, and he's now back. This is Daizen Maeda to a T, and it's now that we're how many months into the season, 6 months or whatever. It kind of is looking at it as that is the case. But you've also got to remember the whole thing in the summer. It was revealed that he was wanting a move, he never got it, and obviously Martin O'Neill said the other week that it was Wolfsburg that were in for him. Then quickly corrected himself and went, "Oh, you didn't know that part, did you? Well, take that out." But he revealed who it was. It was Wolfsburg that nearly signed him or wanted to sign him, and he never got his move. So there is that part. But there's also a professional element to it. Obviously, he didn't get his move, and there will be a bit of disappointment. But at the same time, you're still here. It is still a World Cup year. You do tend to still get called up for Japan, even when at Celtic, unlike when Kyogo was here. Kyogo was still getting ignored no matter how much he scored. So you've got a job to do, Daisan. But up front, in particular, when he's playing through the middle, he is, like, again, last season, incredible, absolutely brilliant. But this season, it's been fleeting in terms of the good performances he's put in playing as a centre forward, Liam.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Does he not have the connection with the coaching staff? Who knows what it is? And it just might be feeling sorry for himself. But yeah, I hate to think if you're a professional football player, you've got the opportunity to play in the World Cup, especially in America, and the way probably the most televised World Cup of all time. Just about access to all the different platforms and stuff, but we streamed on. This is a World Cup you'd want to be in. And when your team's already qualified and you're part of helping them, you think you'd be doing everything you could possibly do to get in that team. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm hoping somebody has a arm around the shoulder, or, if he gets, if they've got, I think we've got an international break coming up soon. If he gets back with the Japan squad, maybe that's enough to re-energise him and get him back. But who knows where board? He could be gone tomorrow, right?
You wouldn't rule it out, actually, to be fair. One thing that's been brought up in the chat is Graham Tyrrell has asked, atmosphere seemed very quiet on the telly. How was it at the game, Phil? Because some of one word, it was pish. It was genuinely dreadful. Like what came across on the telly, pretty accurate. It was a morgue at times last night. Very little enthusiasm. Yes, it was absolutely perishingly cold as well, but yeah, just very little in the way of. Obviously, even when the goals went in, 3 goals in the first 20 minutes, you'd expect that would be raucous. The place would be jumping. It's just kind of like, great, we're winning, brilliant. So, yeah, it was pretty flat. James Kennedy saying that their fans outsang us at home. Yeah, they were a noisy bunch, that Utrecht mob. They were even celebrating when they went 3-0 down. They were just taking the piss, essentially, when the players were. Obviously, they just got 3-0 down and they passed out for the back, and their players were like cheering, going, way, every time they passed the ball at each other. Because, they were just here for a good time, essentially, after that, because they knew they were already out. So they were just having a crack, basically. Robert Gibson says he made more noise in his living room. I do not doubt that for a second. And, James Kennedy, the elephant in the room, bring back the Green Brigade for the atmosphere. Seems like there's no resolution on that one, Liam. Seems like there's still a standoff there. Interestingly enough, one of the guys on the board who is sort of behind the Green Brigade man who used to work in the police force, somebody Hargreaves, I can't remember what his first name is. No. He was Celtic's representative today at the UEFA draw. He was sent out to Switzerland to attend that. So, good stuff there, Celtic. Well done. Sending them out on our money again. But I could tell you firsthand from going regular, it's been pretty drab. Now, don't get me wrong, there has been some games recently where the Green Brigade have gotten into the stadium through other means, where people basically giving up their tickets, because where I sit at the stadium, Lord Jock Steam stand in 139. To my right-hand side, the southwest corner, that's where Bhoys Celtic sit, the other sort of supporters group. And there's been a few occasions where the Green Brigade have been in right beside them in recent months since the ban came in. And I've definitely seen them at away games, because if you see them on the telly, you see their banner. And we saw them like at Tannadice, Livingston, doing it Auchinleck, where we played Auchinleck Talbot, doing it Kilmarnock recently. You know, the bans are, so they're getting into away games. So, but the ban is still officially in place, and it's been 19 games now officially since it's been in. But yeah, there has been some games that they have got in, and it is a world of difference when they are in. And with what's going on right now, Liam, with the title race that we're in, the scrap that we're having here for this title, and we're still in Europe. You know, we need to try and make Celtic Park a fortress. Again, didn't Brian Wilson, the new acting interim chairman, say unity? Unity was the key going forward, but it seems like he has no interest in trying to get a bit of unity here. It would make all the sense in the world that we need every tool that can give us an advantage, and one of the things is the noise and the atmosphere. It's surely time, Liam, to just bury the hatchet and get this sorted, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that from a North American point of view, and you know, worked with sports franchises and stuff, and the way they treat the fans here. I mean, it's so much different to back home. You know, they're always courting you. You know, everybody I know gets season tickets and stuff for the Whitecaps. One, the communication. I had season tickets at one point. You know, communications non-stop. You know, you're added to lists and part of groupings and WhatsApp stuff and all that, where you're always in constant. They're always letting you know what's going on, and they always offer stuff up as well. There's things that go back. They make partnerships with different brands and stuff, so it's not unusual to be walking into the stadium and being given a free T-shirt or a hat. You know, when you're a supporter, you know, even my team in Bulgaria, I support Lokomotiv, loved it. You know, I went to, I had season tickets for the year I lived there, and I went there, and the first thing they did was gave me this beautiful centenary scarf. It was a centenary that year, 100 years old, and you know, it was absolutely brilliant, beautiful, all embroidered and all that. And you know, the season tickets there, I pay equivalent of probably about £4 a game to go and see the team in Bulgaria. It's crazy.
Not bad value.
And you want to see ultras?
Aye,
Ultras
that's
over
ultras.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, they're ultras. I mean, they break into the manager's, you know, locker room. There was one where they signed the next player that used to play against us. This was at in Sofia, and they came in and they made him take all the gear off. He's no earned it yet. He didn't have the right to wear the badge until we proved something to him. And you know, our ultras, we've got a section of ultras, and it's like Mad Max. It literally is. It's banners, everything. We got bands like Usual Suspects and the Lauta Army and all that. And we got walk around with black T-shirts with hooligan on the back, and they got their own MMA fighting and clubs and gyms and all that, where they all work out and train to actually fight at the football and stuff. You know, so what Celtic's putting up with the Green Brigade, a couple of hearty words, a couple of banners that question maybe the integrity of Dermot Desmond, which definitely needs to be questioned, because he does nothing to come out and help himself, and neither does the rest of the board. There's like a peely-wally group of wee money counters that just seems to have just somehow taken over our club, and you know, refuse any accountability. And yeah, people are sick of it. And I think Green, you know, getting rid of the Green Brigade for them, well, I think, you know, it's going to be like Spartacus at some point. You know, everybody's going to become part of the Green Brigade and starting, you know, showing up and showing their displeasure, especially if we don't get players in over the next 3 days, which I'm sure we're going to segue to.
Oh, we will. Yes.
You know, that's a month now. A month now where you think, okay, well, obviously not daft enough to do this again. But they are. They're taking us for absolute mugs. And I'm surprised. I'm surprised because, you know, you move away from Scotland, particularly Glasgow, you take a lot of that Glasgow swagger away, and that was something that I thought we were always proud of, and that that couldn't happen to people like Glasgow. Like we're double wide, as we used to say. You know what's going on. Nobody takes a Lenny. Anthony Bourdain, when he was in Glasgow, he talked about the Glaswegian character, and how people here, you don't take bullshit, you don't take that. But here we are. The biggest institution of rebels in the land, and we're getting dictated to. It's like we've got a boardroom for Keir Starmers, these wheelie wally wee men riding roughshod of the people whose families and descendants and all that have built this club and built a culture in it, and it's just getting ripped apart. And last night, when you hear the silence and all that, it was deafening, and they're just taking the soul out of Celtic, and that's what Celtic always was to me. It was like it was soulful. There was something about that Celtic where there was a underpinning, just a character and stuff that had been built over the years. The rebel identity, being authentic, and right now, you're getting these wee photocopier munchkins on the board that are just replicating each other, and it's a really shit state of affairs, and I'm surprised. People are putting up, and I know there's a lot of people that are
the word I think,
very
Liam,
vocal.
Liam, I think the word is apathy. I think that's what a lot of fans are feeling. I mean, there's been numerous cases over the last year, but I think genuinely a lot of the fans have just got a pure apathy right now for everything Celtic. It's like they need something to really reinvigorate and give them that spark back. And right now, what they're watching, the product on the park, the turmoil in the stands, in the boardroom, it's just causing pure apathy right now.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing that's the hardest part about it. You got the apathy, whereas people have got stuff going on in their lives right now. A lot of people are, struggling with the economy, struggling with family, struggling with mental health. And even myself, I always looked at Celtic as that great escape. I was having if I'm having a bad day at work, I was always fortunate enough to sneak away. When I was living in Toronto, the games would come on about 2:30 or something, 2:45. Sneak away and just go for that 2 hours I was away. I was talking to Glasgow and Scottish guys in the pub and all that, watching Celtic, the O'Neill years, and it was just a great form of escapism. And you came back recharged and right, okay, I didn't have to worry about, chasing invoices or, anything that day, or, clients staying your head in and stuff. And now that's gone. Now I look at going to Celtic. There was a couple of times where it just felt like a chore, and that's I'm 64 years old. That's never been part of my life before. Whereas I've when I worked in different cities and all that, I was finding Google Maps and shit like that to print out so I could find a Celtic club in New Orleans or Warsaw or places like that,
and you can always find one. They're everywhere.
We get taxis at all hours in the morning, going to areas you don't know, but pubs are now open, and like trying to find the club down in Santa Monica, in Venice, near Venice Beach, and that, and at 4 a.m, things like that. But it was a worthwhile pursuit because you knew when you got there, the crack was going to be good, and you might get a pint or something that time in the morning, and you'd meet some cool people and all that, and some of them became lifelong friends. But you'd enjoy the game, win or lose, draw. You had something to talk to. But now it's not about what's on the park. More the conversations is what's after the park, and what's after the park stinks. It really does. I thought the Kellys and all that stuff was bad. I thought when Fergus came, I said, okay, well, that's the last of that, and it seems to have grown worse. It's a virus right now. We need to get rid of it.
We do indeed. But in terms of after, say, all the apathy of last night, we did obviously advance to the next round of the Europa League, and say Stuttgart await us a trip to Germany for the second leg. His first leg is at Celtic Park, second leg in Germany. But yes, Stuttgart fifth in the Bundesliga right now. How does that make you fearful? Because remember last year we took the top team in the Bundesliga, very, very close to extra time. We weren't that far off. We gave Bayern Munich a scare. Granted, the squad has been massively downgraded since then, and yeah, I think it may be a bit of a tough task. But yeah, it's a bit of a callback to 2003, that UEFA Cup run, Martin O'Neill in the dugout. And yeah, we did play Stuttgart around about, it would have been about the same time of the year, February, because they were the round of 16, I believe, before the quarterfinals was Liverpool. So yeah, it's roughly about the same time of the year we playing them. And also Sean Maloney scored on the night that we beat them at Celtic Park, and Sean Maloney, of course, is the assistant now. But yeah, and Pierluigi Collina was the referee that night. Probably the most famous referee that's ever existed. He was there, and I think he also sent a Stuttgart player off. It's but yeah, fond memories of that one. But yeah, we'll just be hoping, because obviously there is still the monkey on our back of we haven't won a knockout game since Martin O'Neill was manager the first time around, way back in 2004. Is there a chance that it could end this time, Liam, or are you pretty much like, nah, we've not got much chance here against Stuttgart? Would you rather have had Ferencváros in the draw?
Well, the Ferencváros one was interesting because it just set up a whole new, different sets of talking points and about Robbie Keane.
Or Dermot Desmond would be in his year. That'll be his audition for the Celtic job. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. Yeah.
Aye, and so yeah, so I think he dodged a bullet there. But you'll still be watching for the results as well, because Dermot Desmond, that seems to be his boy, and I don't know. There's something about Robbie Keane. I read stuff in the message boards where people were talking about getting autographs and things like that when he was with the club and all that. He was like just a big-headed guy and stuff, But the thing I remember there was a thing in LA. I know you remember all this stuff, Bill. You the knowledge. But I don't know if you remember, there was a picture taken. I think it was Beckham. Maybe somebody else, might have been Ibrahimovic or somebody like that.
Is this the LA Galaxy? Because Robbie Keane played for the LA Galaxy.
Yeah. And it was David Beckham, somebody else that was super famous, and an unknown fan, and the unknown fan was Robbie Keane. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he is a fan of so many different teams. That's been one of the running jokes of his career. They've unintentionally stumbled across a joke there where, he probably was an LA Galaxy fan because he supports every bloody other team going.
But yeah, the Stuttgart thing, you never know if Martin O'Neill can get him up for 2 games. Now, is that 1 game or is it 2? It's 2, isn't it?
2 games. So we play Celtic Park first, and then a week later we play the away leg in Germany. I know a lot of fans are very concerned about it being 3 days before Ibrox. I'm not too concerned about that. I keep going back to the same example. 4 years ago, Rangers played Braga in the quarterfinals of the Europa League, went all the way through extra time, then played us on the Sunday at Hampden, a Scottish Cup semi-final. They beat us, and that game went through extra time. They looked like the fitter team by the end of that game. I think when it comes to a game against Rangers, and it goes both ways for both teams, I think adrenaline carries you through. I'm not too concerned about us playing 3 days for. Plus, it's to Germany. It's not an exhausting travel. We're not getting sent to the outer reaches of Europe like you get in the early stages of like the Europa League and even in the Conference League. You get some far out fixtures. It's not too bad going to Germany.
I think Sligo Boy said something earlier in the chat when I was just scanning through there that Stuttgart and Celtic were the 2 most watched games last night. And I think I always remember when we were looking at the money you get for the TV experience participation back in the day, that Germany was always the biggest one. And so I think that becomes a big game. Yeah. And our players, maybe that's the short window they need to be in, our players to sort of go out there and make a name for themselves as they tried to do last year. And I think O'Neill's a motivator to try and get that. But, as we said before, these players are last legs and they're dropping like flies. Hopefully we start to see some of them come back. But I'm not sure.
Hey, wait, my heart was in my mouth last night with Ian Atchell. Every time he was chasing a ball, I was like, slow down. You're going to pull your hamstring again.
Aye. That was the same with Tierney as well, because he was playing so well. And it was like, all right, okay, well, you went after the last game. It's like, save some of that, I'm surprised he didn't make changes sooner. But then when you see the way that team collapsed, and then you seen the changes they brought on, we didn't really have anything, did we? Luke McCown was an empty jersey. He didn't look great coming on. James Forrest, a couple of runs here and there, but nothing that fills you with confidence going into a team like Stuttgart. So we just got to find our best 11, which it looks like Martin O'Neill has. That team that we saw yesterday seems to be his consistent best team. But I really think we need to improve on Arnie Engels and find a better place for Negrin to play, because outside the box is shite.
No, that's not fair. Well, I'll give you, before we move on to talk about the next segment, obviously a couple of interesting facts about Stuttgart. Do you know what's the two most things that Stuttgart's famous for?
Porn shops and hot dogs.
Well, no, it's the city that is the home for Porsche and Mercedes-Benz. That's where their headquarters are based. And speaking of luxury cars and car analogies, we're still very much a Honda Civic, Liam. How do we upgrade to being a Ferrari? So let's go on to transfer chat, because there's some that going round. So Celtic, of course, would go into the market and go for a guy whose name is very, very hard to pronounce. I'm going to try my best. I've got it written down. Fares Gedjemis, Gedjemis. He plays for Frosinone in Serie B, who are currently top of Serie B. I had to be look at that one. I've heard of the team before. I think they've had a couple of stints in Serie A, but mostly a Serie B team, but they are currently top. But anyway, French winger, right wing. He's a French Algerian, and apparently he's been on form this season. But Liam, we've went from a month here of being very prudent with the money, nothing really getting spent. The latest talk is it's going to be about $6.5 million they're going to spend. So then it begs the question, if you could spend that the entire time, what the hell's taking you so long? Now, granted, there's obviously been a lot of change in the last month. Sean Maloney, he did the media duty today, and he seemed a bit chirpy when it comes to progress on transfers. He wasn't talking too much in riddles, which Martin O'Neill has done. Let's be honest, he has been quite cryptic, but I suppose he's trying to just keep fans sort of grounded here. But Sean Maloney did say a couple of things. They're hoping being the word again, but he's looking at maybe 2 or 3 before the end of the transfer window. And obviously last night, Martin O'Neill was asked after the game in the names of Gedjemis and Redzic, who's the Hungarian winger, were both put to him. And his words to the reporter, well, again, he was sort of like, well, you're not a million miles away there. So he did kind of leave it open that, we are close. But we'll look at apparently $6.5 million. Where did this come from, Liam?
Well, I hope we're going to get some money back for Balikwisha. I mean, $5.5 million we paid for him. He's been a complete wash. Absolutely no idea what went on behind this signing. And as we've talked about before, having to convince this guy to come and play for us. Yeah, I'm hoping that these guys are scouted. I hope somebody's seen them, actually seen them play, or even had a talk to them to see what they're like, what their personality is, because Balikwisha doesn't even look like he's bothered on the bench, whether he plays or not. So that's a weird one. The 2 boys, I didn't know anything about them. I've never heard of them before this. It's funny you talk about getting it to the end of the window. I think that's when the prices go up. Everybody knows you're desperate at that point. The time to get your business is at the beginning of the window. If you've got to identify your players early, get your bid in, get your business done, and get your terms and get them in the squad as soon as you can. Now, if anybody, if we go back for anybody now, I'm sure that price has now gone up. There's a player that we were interested in the summer, the Japanese boy, the defender, Copenhagen. You see,
I saw that story through the week. Now he's getting touted for a massive move. Yeah.
20 million. And so, it shows you there's players out there that we talk about, but I guess somehow Paul Tisdale went to Japan and came back with the Wonder Twins, and I don't know, maybe just got drunk in a sake bar and that and got confused, with the names and the faces.
Both loaned out, both gone. Honestly, if you look at now what we did in that window in the summer, all that's left is Negrin, who has contributed, as polarising as he can be. Where would he be without his goals this season? And obviously, Kieran Tierney's played a lot this season, but the rest of them, it's mostly injuries and guys that have been loaned out or had their loans cancelled. It's just an absolute shambles. And guys like Balakisha, where we spent lots of money and he can't even get a game at all. An absolute joke of a transfer window. And you keep asking yourself, can we really top that one? Can the next window be worse? And we're on the border right now of this one being a total disaster as well. But they've got a lot of work. And say Sean Maloney did say they're looking to get maybe 3 in before the end of the window. So when he watched this space, I did see something before we came on as well. From our team outside us, Motherwell, their manager has made some noise about they are back in the market for a central defender, and he did name drop Stevie Welsh as being somebody high on their list. So is the Mazwanishi deal back on? Was it even on in the first place, Liam? But again, if this guy is coming out and making this noise that they need a central defender and Welsh is definitely somebody they're interested in, surely Celtic need to be back on the phone and get that over the line.
Yeah, because I don't know who we're going to play. I mean, Dane Murray, I don't know if he's going to make it. Is it when are we waiting for Alison Johnson to come back and maybe move him in the inside where he's played with Canada a couple of times? I mean, we're running out of spots for players that actually play in a position without now having to reimagine them playing somewhere else in the park. So that's definitely what we're coming down to if we get more injuries. Just something, I don't know if you've seen it through the week, Phil. You see Lennon's comments?
Lennon was commentating last night. I've not heard the audio. I've only seen people post on Twitter, paraphrasing it, saying that he says he never had any problems with signings when he was here, but he left in 2014 because the investment was getting held back. Now, granted, I think a lot of that was to do with the situation with Rangers, because Rangers were not in the Premiership. So there was a sort of a bit of pullback there on terms of investment. But what Lennon saw at the time was, okay, domestically we're going to win the league every season because realistically Motherwell and Aberdeen aren't going to challenge us. So in the 2012-13 season, he went all in on getting us through in the Champions League, and of course that was the year that we beat Barcelona in the group stages, Spartak Moscow away. And obviously we got through the next round, and it was a case that into the next season, let's try and build on that. And obviously the board had decided, well, with Rangers now there, we don't really need to push the boat out, and that's why Lennon left. But then last night, apparently he's chirping about, I never had any problems with transfers, and it's I don't know about that, Neil. I think you're telling a wee pokey there, because I remember it very different when he left in 2014. The reason being was the investment just wasn't there; it was getting pulled back.
I don't know. I think he's keeping himself. He's very much, he loves the board. The board love him. Yeah. And, we're talking about this director of football role. Do you think he's keeping himself sweet for that?
I don't think Neil Lennon will have a job at Celtic ever again. I know the board do a lot of stupid things. I know the board do a lot of daft things, but I do not think they'll be crazy enough to do that. I think he'll just stick to media duties. That's the only time you'll see him at Celtic Park doing media duties. I don't think he'll work as a coach, as a director of football, and certainly not as manager. I think if right now, we're on the edge here of things getting really, really ugly. I think right now with the protests that have happened up to now and the chanting and whatnot, I think it'd be amped up big time if they appointed Neil Lennon. The Celtic fans want to see an adventurous move from the board, in terms of managerial appointment. Now, of course, that does bring us back to that same scenario that I've brought up a few times. Could Sean Maloney be the manager next season? That's still a worry in my book, but I wouldn't rule that out. But I think Neil Lennon won't work for him. But it is interesting. He does keep, sort of keeping him sweet. But I don't think he'll have a job at Celtic again in terms of coaching, director of football, manager. I'm ruling that one out.
Yeah, I hope no. It's just that I never rule it out because that board is so tone deaf that they think that might appease the fans. That the COVID thing was an anomaly and that was a bit of a bad luck and all that. That Siamese boy or whatever he's called himself on Twitter these days, is still the man and still well held in the same with Celtic support. even though he wouldn't resign. And, I don't know, maybe they see that as a virtue. But I just thought it was interesting comments that, he's still there. He's still very much a board apologist, even though, it's such a terrible season and eventually got sacked. But he got his holiday away, right? And everybody else was locked in and stuff like that. No, put the foot down. We deserve to go to a resort and have a break and a winter training camp. And I think that led to our downfall, was that reluctance to cancel it and the view of everything. But anyway, I was just interested to see his name popping back up as a voice of reason when it came to why we should trust this board and give him a break. So,
no, definitely not. So there've been too many. He's one of the ones that's quoted, but there's been all sorts of managers over the last 15 years. Even Ronnie Dyler, the very quiet and timid Ronnie Dyler. There was even quotes from him talking about the lack of investment and the lack of ambition and adventure. So it's happened too many times. But yeah, Neil Lennon did leave in 2014 initially because of the lack of investment. It was getting pulled back a bit. So yeah, his stories last night about never having any problems with transfers, I kind of beg to differ on that one there, Neil. But yeah, in terms of transfers, it's only really just Redzic, but that one seems to be less likely than the boy from Serie B, because apparently Red Bull Salzburg are in the driving seat to sign Redzic. But turns out the Redzic, who's Hungarian, but he plays in Slovakia. The last time we actually did business with this team in Slovakia, we bought Bio, the bold Bio. Remember him?
Oh, fine.
Yeah, aye. Vikun Isuf Bio, I believe is his full name. But yeah, he was dreadful. He was absolutely dreadful. And but he plays in Slovakia, this boy. But say Red Bull Salzburg apparently are in the front seat. Interestingly enough, they didn't qualify for the playoff round of the Europa League last night. They were one of the teams eliminated, one of the 12 teams that dropped out. We actually did, but anyway, that's what it is. So I say it's Gediemes seems to be the front runner just now, but we definitely need more than that. We definitely get a centre back. Again, you just brought up there Dane Murray. Please no, but we expect he probably will end up playing at the weekend because Austin Trusty's suspension. Unless Stevie Welsh plays, could it be Stevie Welsh's phone on? As I say, Motherwell are now making noise that they need a centre-back. We're obviously in the market to get loads of positions, but Mazlanise is definitely something of interest, I would say. So again, do we get back onto them on that? We'll wait and see with that one. But we definitely need to look at a few positions: defence, midfield, forward, cover the whole spectrum essentially. But yeah, it says we have to batten down the hatches. I know come deadline night, I'm going to be watching Sky Sports News, just hoping for an update, some sort of crumb of news coming from Celtic Park about a player turning up. But yeah, we do need to get a few in before then. And yeah, it's been the case for the entire window. It's not really changed. But Sean Maloney did say in his presser today that he has been impressed by Vanchara and obviously Araujo, who came in. He says, those are the types of players that we were looking to work with. So he's quite impressed with them. He did also emphasise as well just about just the scramble it's been with the managerial change, and it's him and a couple of guys from the recruitment team, Maloney himself, that are sort of heading up this to try and get players in. But yeah, so he seemed quite chirpy about that we're closing in, and he said things like we need to get it done now. He was emphasising that it's now or never. So we're now at the 11th hour pretty much. So so far to use Celtic to see what they do, but we need these guys to come in and hit the ground running, whoever we get in. It can't be a case of somebody comes in and they're 4 or 5 weeks off full fitness, just getting phased into the team. We need them to be hitting the ground running, because when the deadline expires on Monday night, we're straight into a game up at Pittodrie on Wednesday night. So that doesn't help much neither. They don't get much time to have a good week of training with the team. It'll just be like right up to Pittodrie and that's it, So hopefully we can run, because as bad as Aberdeen have been at times this season, that it's always a tough place to go. Midweek, February, up at Pittodrie, could be a bit of a horrible one, that. So yeah, we're going to have to be at our best, and we can't afford many more mistakes, Liam. And that starts obviously this Sunday. Falkirk are in town, and say at the start of the show, it has felt like we've played Falkirk a lot recently, but they have had 2 visits to Celtic Park this season in the league and in the League Cup. We put 4 goals past them both times, beat them 4-1 in the Cup and 4-0 in the league under Martin O'Neill, his first game back in his first interim spell, because this season's just bonkers. And yeah, we did play them recently as well, through in Falkirk with a very scrappy 1-0 victory, but hey, they all count at the end of the day. But yeah, Falkirk, they started the season pretty slowly, and they were mostly getting tipped for relegation. I think it's safe to say Livingston are goners, so I don't think Falkirk need to worry about that. But they have got themselves up to the top half of the table on merit. They are a decent wee team in their own right. And every game is a cup final now. Every game has been taken seriously, Liam. We cannot rule out any sort of madness happening. So what's your initial feelings about this game on Sunday?
Yeah, it does seem that we played him a lot. I'm glad Arfield isn't playing.
Oh, no.
No, because he's a game winner or anything like that. He does usually pop up and play well against us, but just a chance of getting more players injured. He was a bit of a hatchet man with him, and yeah, so I'm glad he's not on the team, because the last thing we could do is lose another player. It is a physical side, Falkirk,
Yep.
and so I don't know. I'd like to see us readjust the team a wee bit. I'd like to see Bernardo, as much as he's no impressed. He's impressed me more than Engels. I've seen everything about Engels I needed to see last year, and then I've seen it again this year, and it's actually been a regression. And I'd like to say, okay, I think he needs to sit out again. He just doesn't seem to take advantage of the opportunities he gets. And
well, Liam, can I throw this in here about Engels? Have you noticed in Europe seems to be where he puts in his best performances, but the physicality of the Scottish Premiership seems to overwhelm him, just like the sort of hatchet man physicality of Scotland.
Aye.
But in Europe, he gets a bit more time in the ball. Players with a wee bit more class, and Elias maybe he just seems to. He thought last night he was all right. He played fine. It wasn't his best game last night, but he wasn't terrible. But look at Falkirk the other week when we played through there. He was one of the players, along with Tunekti. In fact, most of the players that night. There was this. I did the post-match show with Terry after that game, and there was this weird few moments during that game where our players were literally bouncing off the Falkirk players. Like, we were, say, Tunekti, for example, he's trying to weave past a couple of players, loses the ball. Falkirk are breaking on us, and Tunekti will run alongside, trying to, like, a wee shoulder barge, just try to put some muscle on him. And he was literally just bouncing off the Falkirk player. Same with Engels, same with McCown, who came on that night and had a shocker. Yang. It was like our players just couldn't stand up to the physicality of Falkirk. They just seemed to just something around them. Just we couldn't seem to get the ball off them at times, so they were just breaking on us. And yeah, guys like Engels, where he plays in the park, you need guys like him to have that physicality and that muscle to take control of the game. And that's where he misses out. But in Europe, he seems to be a slightly different player. Like, he seems to thrive on the ball a bit better. But in Scotland, he seems spooked by the physicality.
Yeah, I had a boy last week. Hearts Finlay absolutely bullied him. I mean, he cartwheeled him into the Horden. That was like a UFC, like jiu-jitsu throw or something. But yeah, you're right. Falkirk's, I mean, you can't talk about Falkirk not talking about that interesting story of the boy that they brought up for the uni. It scored a hat trick last week for him.
Yeah,
Barney Stewart.
Aye.
I mean, I love Scottish football. I don't watch the English game anymore. I watch a bit of the Bulgarian league, but I like the stories that go, and every now and again you get something that pops up like this Roy of the Rovers type story, and this Barney Stewart seems to be living the Roy of the Rovers type trope that's going on, and yeah, it'd be funny. It'll be interesting to see him and see if there actually genuinely is a talent there, or if it's just a hot flash, But again, if he's a young boy and he's applying himself and he's one of these guys that's just been given a chance, who knows? I remember, was it Stokes? Was it Falkirk? Stokes came through with as well.
Anthony Stokes was a youth player at Arsenal, and then he had a loan spell, I think, at Falkirk, and then he was at Hibs, and then we signed him off Hibs. But yeah, he had a spell at Falkirk. Oh, he was also at Sunderland as well. He was at Sunderland when he was a youngster, but he did have a spell at Falkirk. Aye.
He seemed to get. It seems something must be something in the water there as well. Sir Casper went. Schmeichel to learn his craft as well, and and I think it's John McGlynn that's
John McGlynn's the manager.
That side now, and yeah, he seems to be getting a tune out of the players. So I don't know if we'll hit 4 past him this thing, but I think it'll be a lot closer and a lot edgier right now, just because I think our players, I don't know, I think O'Neill's getting as much as he possibly can at them.
Yeah,
And
pretty much. Aye.
who knows? It's a Jekyll and Hyde team. It could be 3-0 in the first half, and they could score 2 in the second half. And it comes in a lot closer game, and it seems. So if you're looking for a prediction for me, I'll say I think 3-1 maybe 3-1. But I think that third goal will come just at the end, just to sort of as a relief goal. It takes it'll be the 85th minute or something like that where we just put it to bed. But I don't think it's going to be as easy as what we thought it was. But just might entertain me, Celtic. Come on. I want to be entertained.
That's what the man's asking, Celtic. Come on. Kev1 does say the plastic grass last game was not for Celtic. Well, that's true. Actually, we do tend to struggle on plastic pitches. So the previous 2 times Falkirk have been at Celtic Park with a bigger pitch. We put 4 past them both times. So hopefully we're going to get something similar. But in terms of like some standout parts of the team, so if there's no point anymore dwelling on the goalkeeper situation, as much as Kasper's got many, many flaws, and he's definitely now... He's done. I mean, he's essentially done, but he's going to be the goalkeeper through the end of the season unless a new goalkeeper turns up between now and Monday night. It looks like Sinisalo ain't going to get much chance. So there's no point in predicting if Sinisalo finally gets a run of games. He's not. But the back line, so I say, Trusty, we know about that. The suspension, that stands. It is what it is. I say Stevie Welsh might be thrown in, or it might be Dane Murray comes back in. Dane Murray did play in the Cup victory over Falkirk this season. He started that night and he scored one of the few times domestically they've scored off a corner. He did head one in that night. But yeah, it's likely that he'll probably come in, given that Welsh wasn't even in the squad last week against Hearts. Make sense of it, if you will. In terms of the right back, Araujo, I'd imagine, probably comes in there. I don't think it'll be Ralston coming in. Donovan obviously played fine last night for you again. He looks like, again, a player if we keep developing. I think we've got a decent talent there. Still a long way to go. But yeah, I think Donovan's shown a lot of promise. But I think it has to be Araujo coming back in there. Tierney could probably benefit from a bit of time out, but sadly we're at a point where we don't have many more left fullbacks, and moving Liam Scales there would then leave us with a bit of a hole at centre-back. So I guess it's going to be him unless he wants to play Donovan or Ralston on that side. That's where we're at with that one. So I think Tierney probably starts there. Then your midfield 3. It's, again, we've said it so many times about the different combinations. We need to see a bit more from whatever one is. I mean, there was that game last week against Hearts where I said hi Terry on the post-match. What baffled me is the lack of control that we had in the middle. One of the things that we constantly have a gripe with Callum McGregor about is his ultra conservative play of just get on the ball and pass it sideways and pass it back and play the safe ball. And last week against Hearts, when we were under the cosh, it was like, this is actually a day when we do need one of our midfielders to just play the sensible ball. But Callum McGregor last week just felt like you want to keep doing these risky forward passes that was losing the ball, and then Nygren kept losing the ball, and Engels, and it was just like, yeah, nobody had control in midfield. But I say it's been a bit of a pattern all season. I don't feel inspired by any of the 3 that they seem to pick. So yeah, it'll probably McGregor obviously will start captain. And yeah, Hatate might come back in. He might come back in for that one. Bernardo, I know you're saying, but I don't know about the Bernardo experiment anymore. I'm kind of running empty on that one, where I for so long have championed him, saying, can he be any worse than what we've seen? But every time he seems to get a game or get any sort of time on the park, it's like, no, there's just nothing. Even when he came on against Auchinleck the other week, he was still giving the ball away, and it's like, man, Bernardo. And then you look at McCown as an alternative, who again hasn't exactly been great. So yeah, midfield is definitely another area that we need to be looking to improve. And then your front three, you say with Ian Atchell coming back, there is at least something of some kind of positivity if we can keep him fit. And obviously we've got Van Chara now, so we've got 2 actual centre forwards. And here's the thing, Liam, big physical centre forwards as well, because they're big guys, because you need that in this league. Guys that can hold the ball up and, can have a battle with these hammer thrower defenders that you come up against.
I like the physicality of Van Chara. Like, he wasn't taking any shit after the Hearts boys on Sunday. So yeah, I'd look at putting Dyson back out in the wing. I think I not like Dyson was terrible, but so was Tenetke. And I'd rather see Dyson out in the wing now and see what he can add with Chinvara up front and Yang. Yang's my first name in the team sheet now. Yang's one of these guys that I wouldn't mind holding on to him because he even looked good the other night as well. I thought he was very positive. He's adding a defensive quality to his game lately as well. You're seeing him tracking back and making 2 or 3 good defensive plays, in his game as well. Now he's only getting better. He's the one that seems to be responding the best to Rogers leaving and reintroduction of Martin O'Neill. As Yang's game's somewhat developed, and nobody in this bus would have predicted that at the beginning of the season.
Definitely not.
Any of us would be singing the fortunes of
Yang Gang membership cards out.
Yang Gang.
The Yang Gang.
Aye. Yang Gang. Thank you, man. But yeah, I think that's what I would go with. I'm wanting to see, it's just that desire to see something new, and put Iheanacho back into that. He's still very much new as a striker. So I think you split it up between Quinchara and Iheanacho, and I think Maeda in the wing, and if he's not doing anything, he's hooked, and then we put Tunetke back on, and maybe just that him losing his position at that point is enough to light a fire under his arse as well, so that he's becomes less one-dimensional and starts adding more to the game. Because I've seen it. There's times when he drags guys to the byline and it's really worked, but sometimes he abandons it. And I think he might be another player that struggles with physicality in a big game, or it's certainly against European opposition where they got a bit more savvy and that, and not as easily taken in by that push to the inside that he does, But yeah, I think that would be my front three. So Dyson, Spencharo, Yang.
Yeah, makes more sense. Well, before we do my predictions, get some predictions from the chat, there was a trivia question at the start of the show. Interestingly enough, usually after I give the trivia question, I'll look through the comments early on and a load of people put the answer in. Nobody's got this one yet. So tonight's trivia question from the start of the show was...
I've got it.
Only 2 Celtic players have bagged a hat-trick against Falkirk this century. Can you name them? And I'll say this, the 2 answers are going to shock you. Liam, you think you've got one?
Tony Watt.
No, not Tony Watt. It's a hell of a guess, by the way. When I'm talking about a name that will shock you, that is a good out-the-box find. Okay. But no, it's not Tony
I've got another
Watt.
one.
Right.
Cy Ferry.
No, not Cy Ferry. That's a hell of a shout. No, not Cy Ferry, mate.
Was it Simon Lynch we used to have?
Oh, you're getting warmer. You're starting to get into that territory. It was somebody who did well. In fact, I'll tell you this. I'll give you some clues. Both players came through our youth academy in the 2000s. Because it's this century, so it's from 2000 to present day.
So one's got to be Maloney, right?
Not Maloney, but you're very, very, very close.
Okay. Mark Burchill.
No.
There
we go. We've got one answer right. Graham Tyrrell, Aidan McGeady. Aidan McGeady scored a hat-trick in a league game in 2008. We beat Falkirk 4-0 under Gordon Strachan. It was a midweek game. But the other one is an absolute, such an out-of-the-box, answer. Honestly, some of the names coming in. Donnelly is wrong. McGregor is wrong. Forrest is wrong. Craig Beattie is wrong. Burchill, Paul Slane, away you. Jerry Crady's a bit too early, smell the glove. It's 2000 onwards, so it's this century. Rubber Duck, Casper. I doubt him. His dad was good for a goal. His dad was fair enough for scoring. So the answer, I'll give you the answer then. So the 2, I say Aid McGeady's one. The other one came in a League Cup game in 2004 under Martin O'Neill. And the other one was Ross Wallace. There you go. There. Ross Wallace scored a hat-trick in a League Cup game at Celtic Park in 2004. And Aidan McGeady's other one in a league game in 2008. But there you go. I looked it up on
Wow.
There's a website that's got every single hat-trick scorer of Celtic, and I was looking at all the ones against Falkirk, and there was only 2 in this century, in 2004 and 2008, and Ross Wallace is one of them. I was wondering if somebody would have popped up in the chat saying, "Oh, I was at that game." No, but apparently there you go. He was one of the answers, and yeah, say Aidan McGeady. So I can remember the McGeady one. I was at that one. It was the Strachan's 3rd season, the one where we found ourselves about, I think it was 8 points behind Rangers with them having 2 games in hand, and they got to the UEFA Cup final. And we ended up winning the league on the last night, on the Thursday night game. It got moved to the Thursday because of the fixture pile-up. That was that season. We beat Falkirk 4-0 and McGeady scored. But yeah, the Ross Wallace one is from the 04-05 season, a League Cup game at Celtic Park. And Ross Wallace bagged a hat-trick. So there you go. I said the answers will shock you, and I'd imagine people are shocked at that one.
Hey, Phil, so can I ask you one question before we go? Because you're definitely the man to ask for this.
Go for it.
Have you seen the shirt week?
I have, yes. I have indeed.
What do you think?
I think they look
I know
excellent.
we hate the board and all that. Excellent.
They look good.
Absolute belters.
Yeah, I mean, the gold template was always likely to happen. I think with it seems like every year when the anniversary comes about 1967, we always seem to have some sort of gold in our kit. So I knew that was coming. So if that's true, then that's good. But the away kit, the sort of
what a belter that
green and black stripes, yeah, I think that was
like the one, like there's the one that my boys still wears the McGeady one. He's got McGeady on the back of that one that we
I've
had
got that one
in the
and all.
Strachan years.
Yep.
But that muted green and the dark grey and that,
yeah,
like sort of like obviously a tribute to the Inter and the international and the 2 teams in the final. But wow, Adidas got
it
one
actually looks
right.
very similar to a Newcastle away shirt from the mid-2000s. They had a very similar sort of green type colour and black stripes with the white Adidas. And I noticed it had the trefoil logo. It had the trefoil on it.
As well.
So if they end up to be true, then they are actually really good. I think that might be Adidas's best efforts up to now. Some of them pretty questionable, let's be honest.
I'll be breaking the boycott for that one. I'll be battering the sales guy at Adidas shop here in Vancouver to order it.
Obviously,
I never ordered any Scotland ones, but I want to get a long sleeve one. Both of them, I think they're both crackers.
Because obviously there's I mean, I suppose wherever you buy it, there's going to be some kind of money would go towards Celtic. But if you buy from the Celtic Superstore, then it's going to. Obviously, they get more for it, but I think if you can buy it from other retailers that would sell it, because I imagine Adidas would probably sell it directly. But anyway, I think they look good. But that's the thing; it's only just leaks now. We're still in January. It's not always likely that a kit gets leaked now, and it's usually right. It's very, very rare that you get. I mean, the only one I can remember being a very early leak was the pink one when Brendan Rodgers was the manager. The pink with the black. And it was around January, February time that a rumour came out that New Balance were going to give us a pink away kit the next season. And it turned out to be true. It was actually bang on the money. And then it was like, apparently the pink was meant to be some kind of reference to the colour of the ticket for the final in 1967. It was like this exact sort of pinkish red colour. That was what they said it was. But to be fair, I actually quite like that pink one. I actually had that one with Colo Touré dame on the back yet. So there's a. I did actually have that. Because we signed Colo Touré that summer, and he only played about 10 games, and then he retired after a disastrous performance at Motherwell.
I had the pink. I had
the day, but
only pink jersey ever. I had the pink, sort of like the pink Salmon Scotland one for the early 80s, and then I had the pink. The baby pink Juventus ones, and I remember it had sort of like abs, like sort of on the.
I know the exact one you're talking about. I know the exact one.
I thought that was a belter as well. I like the new Juve ones with the wee flashes of pink on the shoulder and that. But anyway, that's the kit.
I could talk about classic kits all night. I mean, I'm wearing the Barcelona one tonight. just with my hipstery collection. But yeah, I could do a whole podcast talking about kits, no problem at all. But anyway, we'll leave it there because that's an hour and 10 minutes, folks. That's another Friday feeling, I guess, in the bag. So yeah, enjoy the game on Sunday. I suppose I've not done my prediction. Let's see, we'll get some prediction from the chat. So I will go with I'll say Celtic win 3-0 on Sunday. I think we'll win anyway. And Falkirk, they will have their moments and make it difficult, but I'll go for a 3-0 to Celtic. I think we've been on our own park, and given how Falkirk have played against us at Celtic Park, and to be fair, in general, under Martin O'Neill, the Celtic Park games have actually been no bad, other than the Dundee one before the end of his first interim spell. That was a bit of a shannery a game, but everything since then and before that, we've been pretty good at home. So I'll go for a 3-0 win. But let's get some other ones. Gary's saying 2-0. James Kerry says 4-0 half time. So basically, it's going to get to half time 4-0, and that's it. Second half is going to be a total non-event. Either way, if it's a win, that's all that matters. Graham Tyrrell says a Fanchara double. Rubber Duck is saying 4-1. Smell the Glove says 2-0. Kev1 says 4-0. Graham Tyrrell's also added 3-0. So all pretty positive stuff. Oh, wait a minute. Anthony Rogan's left foot 4-2 again. Could be a bit of a different. And also Sligo Boys just saying 3 points, which of course is the moral of the story, is the bottom line here. Just make sure you get the 3 points, Celtic, because we can't really afford many more slip-ups at this stage. We are looking for snookers now against Rangers and against Hearts. We're looking for our teams to take points. Hearts are at Tannadice this weekend, and Rangers are at Easter Road. So we need to keep our eye on them as well and see if Hibs and Dundee United can take anything off them. That would obviously help us out. But first and foremost, we need to do our job. So, over to you, Celtic. So, folks, enjoy the game on Sunday. Terry will be here for post-match. I think I'll be on, but it'll be later at night because Terry said last night he's got a kid's birthday party to attend on Sunday. So he said to me that he probably won't do the show till about back at 7, 8 o'clock or something like that, which I'll definitely be back for the game then. So, I can probably jump on with him anyway and keep him company. But we will head off, folks, to say do all the good stuff on the way out. Enjoy the game on Sunday. And see you back here for the post-match. Hit the like button and we shall catch you later. Cheers, Liam, and see you all later, folks.